Ashish, welcome to the show. So glad to have you here today.
Thank you, Deepak. Thank you for having me. Glad to be here.
Great. Ashish, I've looked up your background and we have known each other for a few months now. What fascinates me is you seem to have it all in your resume, right? From what I know, you went to IIT. You were in the top 100 in the country, which is a huge achievement in a country like India, with a population of over a billion, right? And then you had come to the Valley and you were leading engineering teams for like all the big brands out there, Amazon, Microsoft, Postmates, and then you started your own company, if I looked it up correctly. So it seems like you've done a bunch of different things. Could you walk us through your journey, the career choices you made, and why you ended up making those choices?
Uh, sure, and you're being kind, but thank you. Um, and you're right. So I've been fortunate throughout my life is how I look at it. Right, from doing well in the examinations to enter good colleges and getting accepted at IIT Delhi. Uh, and then getting opportunities to work in Silicon Valley or in big tech. And really, there were really three phases of my life. The first phase was, when I started working in the software industry. This was way back when, late 90s, early 2000s. At that point, if you remember, there was really only one big giant company. There was no Mag 7, there was Mag 1, which was Microsoft. Uh, and so I got an opportunity to work with Microsoft, and I built a B2B product pretty much from scratch. I was one of the first engineers to join the team, which now is at Microsoft Teams. Earlier, we knew it as Skype for Business or Microsoft Link. And so got to see firsthand how to start from scratch and build a 0 to 1 product and take it to more than $1 billion in revenue by the time I left. So spent 13 years at Microsoft, and then moved to the second phase of my life was B2C, where again I got very fortunate that I got to work with giants like eBay on their core checkout and shopping cart platforms, building those, and then moved to the other side, literally on the other side of the lake, in Seattle, from to Seattle to work for Amazon and build their logistics platform. And then again got fortunate that got to build them 0 to 1. I was not the first engineer I see on the team, but the first leader to build the team and whatnot by that time. Uh, and 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 what that experience really led to was me getting enamored with this entire 0 to 1 thing, right? Saying, hey, look, I've done B2B in some sense 0 to 1. Uh, of course, not by myself, not in a founder role, but still got to see as part of big companies a lot of this, how to build new products, how to build collect teams, build technology, get take it to market. And then I said, look, why don't we do this like really in a pure fashion, in a Silicon Valley fashion, actually build it 0 to 1 when we don't have, a giant brand name or, infinite pool of money or whatnot behind you. And so I came to Silicon Valley back then, about 9 years ago now, and first joined Postmates to learn how to build a startup, how to raise funding, and so on and so forth. I get to know the startup world, since I was coming from big tech, as you said. And after a couple of years at Postmates, I loved the startup world, the chaos of it, the thrill of it. And I started Productiv, which is a SaaS management company. We are a B2B Series C company. Again, have been very fortunate with our investors, with our employees, with our customers that, really the top names have joined us in that journey. And so that's where I am. And along the side, I became, an LP in multiple funds and, an angel investor in different things. And maybe we'll talk about that. So those are kind of the three phases of my career: the B2B in big tech, the B2C in big tech, and the startup journey in Silicon Valley, I guess. Yeah.
Phenomenal, phenomenal. And you said you moved to Silicon Valley nine years ago. I'm assuming you were in Seattle before that, based on the brands
Yeah,
you work for.
absolutely. 17 years in Seattle. Absolutely loved it. I know you guys hate the rain, but trust me, Seattle is very beautiful.
Any other big differences you see apart from the rain between Silicon Valley and Seattle in terms of entrepreneurship or the kind of work you do?
Yes, yes. Look, there are obviously a few parallels. Both are tech hubs. Amazing amount of talent in both places. But from what I have seen, Seattle at the time, at least, 9 years ago when I left, um, it it skewed a lot more towards, call it the safety or the excitement even of big tech, right? What can we do when we have, the group of people in a Microsoft or an Amazon or a Google or what have you, join forces with us and build something very cool. Silicon Valley is a lot more, hey, let's change the word, but one problem, small problem, take it small, start it from scratch, take more risks. The entire conversation in Silicon Valley is, in every gathering that I go to, is about what are the big problems we can solve, what are the next startups somebody is doing, or some. So there's a lot of support from VCs to
Mhm.
angel investors to other founders, to employees even finding a talent. Like, people are more risk tolerant uh, uh, in Silicon Valley. It's
Yeah,
just
yeah,
just the
yeah.
ecosystem is far stronger.
Yeah, I had moved from Dallas to Valley about like 10 years ago, and very different change, Seattle to Valley or Dallas to Valley. But I noticed the same thing. Like everywhere I went, every Starbucks I sat in, people are just coding, talking about, hey, what's the next big thing? And then the ecosystem is so strong here that it kind of motivates you to do something. Uh, so that was going to be my
Absolutely.
next question, Ashish. So you worked in all these big brands, and then you came to the Valley and you worked for Postmates, I think, and you started Productive. So, and this was, I think, a lot of people start companies early in their careers. People, as they say, there's no right time to start a company. You can start it at different points in time. But want to understand, your thought process in terms of why start now and why Productive.
Yeah. Uh, Actually, I I think there are some studies out there which say, hey, most of the, at least the successful, so to say, entrepreneurs in some sense, they started their companies in their 40s. So and there are reasons why, you have a bit of experience under your belt, you have a bit of connections, you maybe have some financial security, and so on and so forth. So it actually adds up for you to say, to have a big idea that maybe you have seen or not seen, or you can discover you have some connections to kind of get things going a little easier. And if it works out, you have the skills and the experience to actually scale the company instead of stumbling through that. So I think that helped. That was part of my thinking process in saying, spend the first few years of my career learning and building those connections and building the network and the financial security, and
Mhm.
then go start something after I've tasted the waters with a company like Postmates, which was a fairly big startup, a $600 million startup when I joined. uh, why Productive? That was an interesting thing, right? The way my journey on Productive worked out is, it's not that I was sleeping one day and came up with the idea of Productive. That's not how it happened. The first thing that happened was I said, look, I want to solve a big problem using technology. I didn't know what the problem was. I just knew I wanted to make a large impact in this world. Self-actualization is what I call it. That's what I was targeting. And then I found people. I said, look, I can't do it alone. So who are my co-founders who have complementary skills for the similar goals? Kind of like a marriage. You decide to get married and then you find the partner. And then you figure out, which house to build and on which street. So that's kind of what we did. I found two great co-founders, similarly executives from, big technology, who wanted to do something similar impact. And then we debated a bunch of ideas. Look, we were all coming from the perspective of, uh, how do you take a 5-year plan and get it funded and get it executed? That's what we did in big tech any which way. Um, and so we said, look at various ideas just from our executive hat, saying, is the problem real? Is the solution differentiated? Is it doable? Is there a moat? Is there a lot of money? Right? Will people be excited? Customers will be excited. Employees will be excited. We will be excited. Investors will be excited, and so on and so forth. And so we debated just more than a dozen ideas on these parameters. And once we hit SaaS management, we were like, this is it. It checks all the boxes. And Silicon Valley being Silicon Valley, the first big investor we talked to, Steve Laughlin at Excel, he essentially confirmed the entire thing. He just said, look, this is great. You guys have hit you guys have found something. The three of you do it, do this vision. Consider the funding is not going to be a problem. And so it was a Cinderella story from there.
It's awesome. Yeah, I mean, these are stories that are like made in the Valley, right? Where you have an idea and then you have people backing you and giving you money for it. Obviously, like all three founders probably had like amazing credentials. So I want to hear a little bit of backstory in terms of fundraising, right? Like I've seen you've raised from top Valley VCs, Axel being one of them, Norwest, IVP, and I think you've also raised from strategics like Atlassian and Octa Ventures.
That's correct.
Uh, yeah, many people dream of raising from some of these top VCs or strategics. So any anything from your journey that you can share, like how did you convince them at different points in time to invest?
Look, it's I'll tell you that the formula is actually, in my opinion, it's simpler than what one might think, right? Um, this is, we think of obviously there's some luck and some right place, right time involved, but really you are looking for your in some sense a co-founder, a partner, right? Um, and you want to find the right partner who's it doesn't matter which name they sit behind, right? You want that partner to be the right partner who will support you and not just support you, will participate actively in what's likely to be like a 7-10 year journey at the very least. Right. So choose your partner carefully. First, decide that, as a founder, that the decision is as much yours as on the other side from a VC, right? You are also choosing a partner, like just like a marriage, right? And the second is really, do your homework, right? The templates are public. Uh, right. Don't, what is the problem? What is your solution? What's the differentiator? What's the long-term moat against copycats or big tech doing this, right? What is the GTM motion? What is the TAM? And so on and so forth, right? Uh, Hopefully you all know it already. Well, how much money do you need? What will you do with that money, right? What will happen in 2 years, 4 years, 5 years? If you only have a 6 month plan, then naturally a big VC will ask, or any VC will ask as a partner saying, hey, look, you haven't thought this through. So take things through, take your time, build something that you can sell to yourself. Uh, and that's how you can sell to other people. Talk to other advisors that you might have, friends who will guide you on this. If you have a good problem and a good story around it, then you will find your partner. Right? Finding a partner is, you are a smart person. These are smart people in all the VC firms, whether you call them top VCs or not, but surely in the tier one VCs, they are really, really smart people. Um,
Yeah, I like how you make it very simple, and maybe it is simple, right? You just have to go back to basics, make sure you have a good value prop, good story, and then a good team, right? And you go and convince them. But yeah, these are all like big brands people want to raise from. So it's good to hear how you think about it.
Remember, they want to invest in good opportunities as much as you want to get money from top tier brands. Their goal is also to put their money to good use in investing in, call it future top tier founders, future top tier companies. So they are looking for you as much as you are looking for them.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they need you. um, cool. And then just moving on from like fundraising to putting on your investing hat, right? From what I've known, and you also mentioned this, you're an LP in multiple funds. You're also a like pretty active angel investor, from what I know, and you have a consortium of friends and successful entrepreneurs who are also co-invest with you. So can you talk to us a little bit about, you know, how do you like what do you look for in founders when you're angel investing, and have you seen any patterns in successful founders versus not from your investment experience?
Yeah, it's very interesting. There is no one size fits all. So let me not say, hey, look, only type A, table founders are the founders who succeed, or the other way, right? We have seen successful companies. They come in all shapes and sizes. There are Elons of the world and Bills of the world and Steves of the world, all kind of different personas. Obviously, this is after decades of observing them that we know. But what we look for, what I look for, is really that story that I was just talking about. Just like a VC looks for that. I don't look for that in that much detail. I don't spend months on that thing, just like a VC might in exploring that partnership, months or weeks. I only spend maybe a couple of meetings, but I'm really looking for the similar things, right? I'm looking for the checkpoints and saying, is the problem real? Is the solution differentiated? Is the market size big? And then on the team and the founding team, especially the founders, um, personality aside, the common things that we look for, I look for is, can they actually build this company? Right?
Right.
Is there skill that they have not to do everything themselves, right? But are there enough skills for them to gather a team around them eventually? Do they have the grit to go through the motions of, ups and downs in everything, in product vision, in GTM, in fundraising? Will they be able to handle, the negatives or the surprises when they come, right? Are they flexible enough? Are they just this way is the only way, or are they flexible? Usually we ask the question of saying, is the current story good? That's one thing. And the second thing is, are the founders people who say, yeah, as we hit surprises, we'll be able to figure out, or we'll be able to figure out the current unknowns in the story. Sometimes founders come to me and say, Ashish, look, we know this much, we don't know this far, but we'll figure it out. And I look to see, will these guys figure it out? Can they raise funding? Can they find customers? Can they tell a good story? Or can they find somebody who will tell their story? And so on and so forth. So grit, skill, flexibility are things that we look for, longevity. And then obviously the current story, at least it should be thought through. Even if you say, I don't know to some questions, it's okay. At least you have thought through.
Do you also look for founders who are building with the current trend? Like if there's a wave that has tailwinds and pulls them along, do you also look for that?
True. That is always going to be there, right? That's part of, call it the template, right? There are two things that, there are a lot of things to ask, but my two favorite things to kind of look for and even advise other founders in when they're thinking of starting a company is why now and why you. You have to have very strong answers to that. If the answer to why now is, I don't know, man, somebody should have done it 5 years ago. They just didn't. This was a problem back then too. Well, in all likelihood, somebody else did try to do that. They failed for a reason that you don't know. And unless you know that reason, you'll possibly, or you'll most likely hit this exact same problem. But anyway, so we do look for why now, right?
Yep.
Is there a good reason why this problem is more important now, or the solution is more possible now, or the market is much bigger now, or will become big in a small amount of time? So why now is honestly the one most important question that separates successful companies from not so successful.
Yeah. I like the last part that you said, market could become bigger in future, because if the market is already big, then you're probably too late, right? And in a lot of cases, so you want to find the small niches which like become way bigger in future. Cool. All right. So transitioning on from your background and your experience into AI in general, right? And I want to start off with like working in the AI space. Typically, you have worked at companies like Postmates, for example, where you've used AI for different things, right? From what I understand, you've used AI for fraud detection, demand supply matching. Could you talk us a little bit about the journey and where you have used your AI and what use cases?
Yeah, look, nowadays we think of AI as ChatGPT, Gen AI. The fact is that AI or machine learning, as there is that's a different conversation, ML versus AI. But applying artificial intelligence has been around for at least a decade, if not more, right?
Sure.
And so yes, we have used AI or ML in a lot of companies that I've worked at, including Postmates, including Amazon for that matter. And otherwise. And it was, look, the lesson there really was that the power of data is there everywhere, right? Whether you have a lot of data like an Amazon or an eBay, or you have, compared to them, less amount of data as in Postmates. But there is only so much that rules-based algorithms or heuristic-based algorithms, there's only so much that they can do, right? After a bit, the problem becomes so complex. There are not 5, 6 factors. There are 50 or 500 factors to consider simultaneously in real time, and 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 only machine learning based algorithm, so to say, or a model can figure out based on past information, which path to take or not path to take. So like preventing fraud, right? Yes, you can do rules based fraud prevention. Somebody is giving you a credit card, you'll say, hey, look, so there's some rules. You have to tell me the right zip code. You have to tell me the CVV number, and so on and so forth. I'll look at your IP address, whether it's, in the correct location or not. Some basic rules will catch, a bit of fraud. But then fraudsters know these rules too. They will just game the rules. That's the thing about at least fraud, that it's a battle. And so to keep ahead, you have to have technology on your side that initially, at least, that the bad guys don't have access to, and then eventually they get access to that technology
Mhm.
too,
Yeah.
and you have to just keep one step ahead, right? So that's kind of the game, and that was the learning throughout, whether it was Amazon or Postmates. Um, that data is very powerful, and intelligence on data is way non-trivial, right? Now chat GPT and all are making some parts of things look trivial. Trust me, there is so much under the covers
Yeah.
that we don't know about in making that simple answer happen.
That is true. That is true. And when you were implementing AI, and at one point it was ML, now it's AI in a lot of these companies. Um, and you've also, I'm sure, implemented AI in Productiv too, right? So just want to understand what goes behind the scenes in terms of decision making in AI, right? Like there's always stuff you can build with your team, and there's always software you can buy from vendors. How does one make the decision? Maybe if you can just touch upon things also around security, maybe on-prem versus cloud. How do we host these AI solutions? That'll also help
Yeah,
us.
no, absolutely. Deepak, look, I mean, most of the world has moved to cloud, and AI solutions are no exception. We want to build them in the cloud, deploy them in the cloud. Um, as the CTO, right, as an engineering leader, I always, kind of bias my teams towards saying, do the net new thing that only we know how to do. As much as possible, don't rebuild the things that are available in the market, right? I mean, at the very basic, we know that, right? We don't reinvent the wheel. We don't start from scratch, from bare metal, and say we will build the entire infra. We use AWS or Azure or GCP, right? We know to do that,
Yeah.
right? But the story doesn't end here, right? Even on the top, right? Whatever services are common horizontal services, we should use it. Now, in Productiv, when we started, we were very early days of adopting Gen AI. So, we actually had to do most of the things from scratch, right? The entire deploy, what we now called Gen AI infra, which I'm pretty sure you are very familiar with. You are building one after all. But, the way to build an AI agent or an AI assistant, kind of related terms, was at that time, this was, I think, maybe 2 years ago. Well, really do from scratch, right? I mean, everything from figuring out to deploy, how to deploy it, to say, how do you make your model switch from, I don't know, OpenAI to Anthropic? How do you even evaluate these models? What kind of prompt engineering you need to do? How do you monitor your costs? How do you keep your authentication tokens? How do you instrument the code to see how is your agent performing? What are the questions it's missing out on? What are the questions it's giving on good answers on? And so on and so forth, right? Everything was kind of, hey, look, figure it out and build it yourself. There is no standard mechanism to do it. Nowadays, I think more and more, services have come up, and more are coming up.
Yeah.
So my advice to people in that fashion would be, AI is enabling us to do a lot of things that the problems that our customers want to solve with our product. Focus on things that are unique to you. As much as possible, use the cloud-enabled solutions on AI infra. It's worth it.
Yeah. And even if there is a vendor that you have to evaluate and buy, right? AI software vendor that is hosting solutions on their cloud, it's still fine versus like reinventing the wheel and building everything yourself in-house, I'm assuming.
Absolutely. Look, I mean, there is always, this is not just, one sentence thing. You have to make sure that, all the other check boxes are checked, right?
Right.
From a security and the cost and the longevity of that vendor, so that they don't just go away after you build on top of them. And so you have to pick carefully, right? Even the base level platform, you have to pick carefully, whether it's like as big as OpenAI versus, Anthropic or what have you, right? Do your homework a little bit, pick carefully, but it's no different than what we used to do when we were building SaaS applications, right? We always used to pick vendors to help us build the application. We didn't build everything from scratch. Building Gen AI enabled applications is
It's very
similar thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I kind of draw a lot of parallels to the cloud wave, right? Like the SaaS wave. Every company was skeptical of moving things to cloud, and now it's an accepted thing. And similar thing is happening with AI too. Um, cool. Just moving on a little bit, Ashish, in terms, just trying to think about product roadmaps too in this AI world, right? Every company is thinking about that. There's a bunch of companies that have built applications, right? And they have continuous stream of asks from customers. Hey, build this, build that for me. And, there's always, I'm sure you've seen it at Productive too. And then there's this new world, right? Like moving in the world, in the direction of AI, where you may have to build AI agents, AI copilots, and there's a lot of AI stuff you have to build on your roadmap, which customers may not be asking for them yet. But if you don't do it, then there is a big risk, right, of your business falling behind. So how does one think of like balancing the two out?
Uh, all right. So, you said it right? I mean, you have to balance long-term innovation and what is the problem to be solved today, right? As the fable goes, right? If you only heard one side of the story back when cars were being invented, if you ask customers or market analysts, they just wanted faster horses. Somebody else had to take the bet, saying, no, hang on, faster horses is fine, but we also need long-term automobiles. Yeah. And that's really the trade-off, right? I mean, that's really the trade-off. What I say there is, think of this as in I think of this as in three buckets, right? I can just deliver what deliver or build what the customer needs right now. It is probably not future proof, but it's delivered in a very fast fashion, right? Or I can do the other side of the equation and say, look, I'll build the moonshot. I don't know when it will come, or maybe it'll come in 2-3 years, and the customer might, the market might move on or might get tired of waiting for that. And clearly, both of these are not good options, because both of them will. In one case, the market might die. You may miss the window of opportunity, and the other case, you will miss out on the innovative uh, part of your solution, and you might die. You may become obsolete soon. And so, to me, the right thing is to find the middle ground, right, where you say, look, I will take a little more time. I won't take like whatever, like the 5 years or the 2 years or what have you, to develop something. But I will also, I'll in this example, I might take, let's say 6 months. In some other cases, 6 months might be equivalent to, you'll miss the entire window, or vice versa. 6 months might be too fast.
Yeah.
But anyway, you know, pick a time frame where the customer demand will still be there, the problem will still be there, and you can still build the first version of your advanced thing. So you don't need to build, the Tesla of the world. You can just build the first Ford and get it to the market, and get things
Then
going.
I do it. Yeah.
And then yes, absolutely. And so that's kind of the thing, there's a bias for action that plays into these things, but you have to balance the bias for action with long-term innovation. As long as your focus is on customer problems, as long as you say, I am the flag holder, I have to solve the problem that the customer knows of today, but I also have to solve the problem that I am thinking on behalf of the customer for tomorrow. After all, it's not the customer's responsibility to look into the future. It's my responsibility. As long as you understand you have those two roles, that you are actually the technologist in some sense, or the leader, business leader, thinking on behalf of the customer, yeah, you'll make the right decision.
Yeah. Yeah. Very interesting. You mentioned, hey, launch a Ford, maybe not a Tesla, and start building towards the Tesla, right? So I think we were chatting about this a couple of months ago about Productiv. I think Productiv also has an AI copilot, from what I remember. Um, right? Was that something customers were asking for, or you just decided to build it because you felt market is moving in that direction?
It was more of the latter, right? I mean, we started a little bit earlier when there were not too many co-pilots being built by, the traditional SaaS businesses. The more involvement was with chat GPTs of the world. And so, we discussed, did we take feedback from the customers? Yes, absolutely. We showed them some mocks. We discussed this idea, and we said, look, if there is a co-pilot, helping you find the data insights, helping you make the decisions in a far easier fashion. Because Productiv is SaaS management tool. Yes, there are jobs to be done, but it's a lot of data, a lot of insights that Productiv brings to the table for our customers. And And our customers were saying, yeah, no, we have figured it out. Some of them were saying, yeah, now we know how to use the product. We can find it. It takes 5 clicks, whatnot. But some were like, no, hang on a second. There are new people,
Yeah.
coming to use Productiv every day. There are new use cases we are thinking of. If you actually solve this part of the problem in a more intuitive fashion, then it's great. So in that case, it was a little bit of looking into the future, but I'm glad we did what we did by saying, uh, again, solve the customer problem. Look, let me put it a different way. AI is a tool, right? It's a solution to solve, or it's a tool for you to build a solution for something. By itself, AI is not cool, right?
Mhm.
You can't just insert
Yeah.
AI into anything and say, oh,
Yeah.
I'll do this tool. It's a
Mhm.
shovel,
Yeah.
right? Uh, you still have to find,
Right.
where to dig and then the right place to dig.
Yeah, absolutely. No. And you, on that note, talking about the future of AI and how the world's changing, right? Um, it is good. Like, by the way, I was just thinking in my mind, it was good you launched the Copilot pretty quickly because now you see all the big companies doing that, right? Google has Gemini, Salesforce, Einstein, Microsoft. I think the world is moving in that direction. But what is your take, Ashish, on, you must be hearing a lot of this too, right? AI agents will become the front end, and then you hear AI teammates, AI applications have to morph, legacy applications. What is your take on, what is your worldview of what's happening in this space right now?
I think this is a very exciting time, exciting times to be observing. You know, uh, many people say it, and I believe it, and that this is really just like the internet wave came, right? Or the iPhone wave or the smartphone wave came, right? And we figured out that the world changed around us, right? After the internet and the smartphone, two different waves. Uh, uh, more recently, right? Just like the combustion engine wave that came back in the day. Uh, so these are really just productivity waves, right? There are new tools being introduced to us, and these tools, uh, they'll keep getting better. They'll keep getting better, right? In fact, the more these tools get better, the more they'll help the iteration of the next wave of technology in AI itself. So it will become a different way to get our jobs done. Ultimately, we are just trying to help humans do a few jobs, whether it's, get answers to questions via chat GPT, or do better in our searches, or, write a letter in a better fashion, or what have you, right? Things that day to day we are more familiar with. But everything that we do, right? Just like everything that we do, consumers or businesses, employees got touched by the internet, got touched by the smartphone. Everything that we do will be touched by AI or AI agents in some form, whether it is a helper
Mhm.
helping you do your job, or whether it's somebody who says, look, let me just do this part of the job. I'll do the menial part of the job. Why don't you do the hard part of the job? Or it's a helper saying, no, no, actually, you know what? Let me help you do the hard part of the job. You just do the more innovative, the human differentiator
Yeah.
part of the job. So I think the frontier will continue to move in this direction. AI will evolve in everything to do more and more. Uh, and yes, we are starting with putting, kind of a Copilot on top of the SaaS applications.
Mhm.
Sure, that's fine too. But uh, you know, uh, soon enough, a time will come when it's not really, a layer on top. That is the main way for you to
Yeah.
build your application, for customers to interact with your product, or to do the job that they want to do. Just like with
Yeah.
cloud, right? That happened. Just like with smartphones, that happened.
Yeah.
Initially, there was phone app that people built and saying, yeah, the phone app is there, it's a checkbox. The web app is still the main way. The internet is still the way you use things. And then later on, it just turned out people were like, hey, look, we just built the phone app and that's our entire thing.
Sure.
The web app is an afterthought, right?
Yeah.
Cloud native technologies, phone native solutions, and similarly, there'll be AI native solutions.
Absolutely. The AI agents comment was interesting. I heard Jensen Huang say in a recent interview that NVIDIA, I think they have about 30,000 employees right now, but he said they plan to, he expects that to increase to 50,000 employees, but then he thinks there'll be over 100,000 AI agents in the company, right? So, and then Satya also talks about it, saying that agents will become the front end, applications probably become the back end, but it's still TBD to see how the space is evolving. But like you said, eventually every application may have to morph, or even there might be agents doing tasks that applications don't do today, right? Like you said, AI helper, AI coder, AI. There's so many AI use cases for agents.
Absolutely. And eventually, I think there would not be just it will just be the AI agent, right? Today, we are building saying, hey, you can use our AI chatbot to interact with the application, but the application is still there. You can just do things yourself. But imagine a world where some new company will launch, will say, look, there is no actual app or interface. Like you cannot go behind the scenes and say, oh, let me tinker with it. Nothing. It does not matter. You don't need it. Just talk to the application interface is, in some sense, just that AI agent. Just talk to the agent, tell it what you want to be done, tell it where it's not understanding or what extra things. Just like you talk to a human, just talk to an AI agent, it'll get the job done.
Yeah, exactly. That's the most natural way of getting done, right?
Yeah, we used to call travel agents, remember?
Yeah.
And they didn't say, well, I don't understand it. Let me send you a link to my internal tool. Why don't you tinker with it? Like they're like, oh, just keep talking to me. I'll get the job done.
And they'll figure out which website to book, what tickets to book. Like, so agents will probably figure all of that stuff out, right? Like what databases to call, what applications to call, and get stuff done for you.
Absolutely. Right.
Yeah. Cool. This was great, Ashish. Really good perspectives from starting from your background to your perspective on AI. I have a quick fire round, 5 quick questions. Would love to hear your thoughts on. Is that okay?
Sure.
Awesome. So first, AI tool, what is the one tool that you cannot live without nowadays?
Well, the first one is Productiv, obviously, but look, I would say, ChatGPT is that tool. It's not the one that I cannot live without. It's the one that I find most exciting, simply because it has opened the world up to the power of AI. It has the broadest reach. It has created the most excitement. I think the credit has to go to ChatGPT for opening this entire space to us.
Yeah, love ChatGPT. I use it every single day. Any big AI trends that you're seeing right now?
I think the big AI trends are twofold, right? One, I see that there is such a rapid innovation happening in kind of the big four, right? The base layer LLMs, right? Which is, the open AIs and the Gemini and the Claude and the Llamas of the world. Um, uh, uh, Even just recently, I think earlier this week or last week, Gemini had a bunch of releases. So I think that is happening in front of our eyes, that the better the AI becomes, these LLM models become, the faster the next iteration of LLM comes, and the better they are, right? So I think horizontal waves will keep happening. The trend will be that horizontal problems will be solved by the big players, right? The hyperscalers. And then the other AI trend I'm seeing is really that, everything that humans do, not everything that an application does, not starting from the application, but starting from a human, saying everything that a human is doing today, or is supposed to do today, you will get an AI agent or an AI assistant, either to do the hard part of the job or to do the menial part of the job, or maybe both. And that trend will continue. Every problem I have tested in the market, there are at least 10 companies building an AI agent for it. So I think that trend will continue.
Yeah. So on that note, next question is applications versus AI agents, right? So who do you think wins, or is there a point of convergence for the two?
So I don't think it's an either or, right? I think the face of these things will change. We're talking about this, and both will stay. Ultimately, there's a job to be done. If you think of the back end of that job as an application, then the application will stay. That application may not be used directly by humans, or that system may not be used directly by humans. It may be used by AI agents who are your human replacement. Just like we were talking about traveling. Would there be a travel booking system to find the right airline tickets and book it? Yes, there should be a system, right? It's just that your travel agent won't do it. Maybe the application of Expedia won't be needed. Maybe there's just an AI agent that you call, or you talk, you chat with, and that thing says, yeah, I'll get it done, right? So both will stay. The systems will be there and the AI agents will be there, but their faces will change.
Absolutely. What's your favorite productivity hack?
What's my favorite productivity hack? Um, write things down. Right. This I learned at Amazon, uh, probably later than I should have in my career. But if you write stuff down, especially in leadership roles, or especially in situations where you are facing, a decision, you have to make a decision, and 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 the waters are muddy, right? So instead of, you know, having 2 days of confusion on, who's saying what data is where, how do I make a decision, you know, sit down, write it down. It take 2 hours of effort, and it always come out ahead. And so the decision will actually probably a better one for the long term. It will hold for the long run. So the more we write things down, the more productive we are in personal lives or in professional lives.
Nice. Last question. What's one piece of advice that you have for aspiring AI entrepreneurs?
Aspiring AI entrepreneurs. I think all of us are AI entrepreneurs now, right? Hey, look, I think we talked about this in multiple points in our chat today, right? There are a couple of things, right? Stick to the basics. Understand the problem and what's the benefit to the customer also. But really, from AI perspective, the one piece of advice is, you know, AI is a tool. It's not useful by itself. It's a shovel, right?
Hmm.
You still, as a founder, have to ensure that, wherever you are digging is actually the gold mine. AI won't find the gold mine for you. You have to find the gold mine. AI is now the new way for you to dig.
Yeah.
So as long as you remember that you don't sell the shovel by itself, you ultimately are trying to find some gold, you'll be fine.
Yeah. Love that. AI is the shovel. That's the key takeaway, and find the gold mine.
Yeah.
On that note, Ashish, I wanted to say thank you. It's been like absolute pleasure speaking to you and learning from you. Thanks from all of us here.
Thank you, Deepak, for having me.
Right. Take care.